Turned up, I'm way too geek. Come get your girl off me. The drink been calling me. Don't kill the party, please. I'm up, so pardon me. She swears she wet for me. When I push up, I part the seats. Calling my bitches and get them undressed. I'm trying to see who pussy the best.
What is a letter of intent and why is it important?
Straight to the question. Hey, Oscar. I haven't seen Oscar in damn near 3 weeks because I was in Gambia, West Africa, hanging out with my boys. So one of my very good friends, before I get to your question, Oscar, you can at least give me a kiss first. Tell me you love me, tell me you miss me. Straight to the questions. One of my very good friends is a politician in Gambia. You saw him on one of the episodes. He's the mayor. He's running for president. He wants to be the head of state of my country. So I'm wearing one of these here hats. What is a letter of intent? So, assuming you found a business and you make an offer, how do you make the offer? You don't write it on a paper plane, wrap it up, and throw a paper plane over the fence, right? You send them an offer. So that offer is called a letter of intent, i.e. LOI. And that captures the specific terms associated with your offer to buy their business. Deal flow, debt, equity. When you're buying a business, you found a company, now you want to buy that company, huh? You need to express to the owners, to the sellers, your specific intentions, the specific terms of a transaction, okay? What does that actually look like? What does that entail? And how do you get them this offer? You send them another, you send them an offer, right? You document it. And so that is called a letter of intent. It's not fancy. It's just a 2-pager where you just detail the specifics of the transaction.
But why is it important?
Why is it important? Well, it's important because no one's ever bought a company that they didn't offer to buy the company to the person from. You understand?
Yeah, it makes
You're
sense.
not just gonna wake up and there's a deed of transfer under your Christmas tree talking about Merry Christmas. You now own the business. There's a process of courtship where you hear about a business. You have an initial impression. They hear about you. They have an impression of you as a potential buyer. You do a little bit of dating. You have some meetings, you have some discussions, and at some point, you make them an offer. And you don't just tell them this over the telephone. That's not professional. Yes, sir, I shall give you 17 goats for that there business of yours. That might be how we do it in Gambia. That ain't how you do it. By the way, 17 goats can't get you a fucking company, in case you're wondering. Okay? That's a whole nother show. So you document it, you put it in a letter, it's called a letter of intent, and you send it to them. That's why it's important. It's your initial communication of how you're gonna value their business and the specific economics and mechanisms that are gonna govern the transaction. Make sense?
Okay, so what are the key clauses included in an M&A letter of intent and why?
All right, the key clauses in an M&A letter of intent include, well, firstly, who the fuck's buying the business? So, the buyer. Is it you as an individual? Is it a special purpose vehicle, which just means a company that was set up specifically for the acquisition of this transaction? So every time I buy a business, for example, I set up a holding company. Milk, that's for me. Okay. What you see here is an African man who's cold as hell, trying to enjoy a cup of coffee, which is already cold as hell because I put in some milk. The milk wasn't warm. These are the details, that sort of grind my bones. 4 days ago, I was in West Africa. I would wake up, I would throw the blinds open. Before me was a swimming pool. The birds are chirping. I had monkeys dancing on my porch. I'll pick up the phone. Hello, Royal Suite 53. Could I please have some breakfast? Fresh scrambled eggs at my service. Freshly squeezed orange juice. I'd step out, stretch. Soak in the sun. Now I'm here. Freezing my socks off and answering Oscar's questions. Fuck. Obviously, you need to be clear on who's buying this damn company. Every time I buy a business, I set up a holding company, which then becomes the acquirer. So let's say, for example, it's called Cookie Co. Limited that I'm buying. Okay, I'm buying Cookie Co. They sell cookies. That ain't such a bad idea, by the way, but anywho's. I would then set up, Cookie Bidco Limited, i.e. it's the company that's placing a bid to buy. So that just means I sort of, as part of the the letter of intent, I just write, a special purpose vehicle set up for this acquisition. That's the buyer. There's a few reasons you want to do that. One is liabilities, okay? Let's say that the transaction goes south somehow and we don't buy the company and the person selling the company has legal fees. Everyone's responsible for their own legal fees, but human nature, right? And maybe the deal doesn't close. I don't want them suing the shit out of me, saying, Yusufa, you said you was gonna buy our company for $100 million and we ain't seen none of them bucks, so pay us. Right? Shit, you can sue Cookie Bitco all you want. So that's one of the reasons, okay? All right, so the buyer. What else? The specific terms of the transaction, like valuation. What is the value, the enterprise value of the business you're buying? How you came to that valuation. Typically, it's a multiple of earnings. So what is the earnings multiple applied to get to the enterprise value? Payment structure. You ain't giving them all that money on day one. They're gonna get some money on day one, and some money over some years, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. The deferred consideration, you also mentioned that. And then this is just my personal approach, I always have what I like to call key assumptions. Key assumptions is very important. For example, what is the handover period of the seller? Are they selling and running, ducking and diving, or are they staying on for a little period of time? That's a key assumption. Customer concentration. What's the biggest customer? And what is the percentage of income from that customer as a percentage against total revenue? What's the concentration? If they only have one customer that represents 100% of profits, 100% of revenue, and that customer goes away, essentially they have 0% of revenue. If they have one customer that represents 10% of revenue as the largest customer, well then, no big deal if they lose that customer. So what's the customer concentration? Et cetera, et cetera. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
0 to 100, my next project will be, how do I become a cookie billionaire?
The Cookie Monster.
The Cookie Monster.
What?
Cold as hell. We got what? Rain. I don't know if it's rain or if it's hail or sleet. I don't know what to call this. It sucks. Step forward, sir. We got some civilians behind you in this weather. We give them an episode regardless, right? Rain or shine.
Yeah. That's
God damn it. Standing in the rain, giving y'all an episode. Subscribe. Look, so you just asked me, when should you send an LOI? The last thing you want to do is pray and pray. Your prayers shall not be answered if you spray and pray. Simply sending 200 LOIs, if they're not qualified to qualified targets, doesn't mean that someone's gonna sell you their company. An LOI in itself is powerless. It's simply a means of communicating, okay? Communicating pre-agreed or pre-understood sentiment. What are these sentiments? Well, one, the sentiment that there is a willing seller, willing buyer. Okay, you only represent a willing buyer. What about the other side? Are they a willing seller? The sentiment that they understand that the way that you value industrial companies, non-tech startups, right? Real businesses that generate profits is through a multiple of earnings. So then you're having discussions of, what is the multiple and what are the earnings specifically, right? But these sentiments need to be understood before you just ship off an LOI. Ain't nobody gonna sell you their damn company just because you slipped in something in the mail saying, sell it to me, sir. Or ma'am. Don't work that way, okay? So don't pray and spray. Or spray and pray. You get the analogy. Let's move, Oscar, before we're surrounded.
Okay, so how many letters of intent does someone need to send before buying a business? Just to have some expectations.
I've given this a lot of thought, and it's not one-to-one. You don't send one LOI, one offer, and get it accepted. It's a numbers game. So listen, and don't line me up against the wall and shoot me if I'm wrong here. But my general sentiment is it takes about 30 qualified letters of intent probably equals one deal. So you can just ask yourself, you can work backwards and say, well, if I need 30 offers, 30 LOIs sent, qualified by the way, you've met them. You've met the seller, you've had a first seller call, they like you like the business, you can see yourself owning that company for 10 years, you've done some analyses on how would you fund that business, seller expectations are not ridiculous. You send 30 of those, you buy one company. This shit ain't free, okay? Motherfuckers think this is free. It ain't free. You're shortcutting decades, okay? It took these business owners 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years to build this company. And your lazy ass wants to buy it in 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Well, you gotta pay the price. The price is hustling. The price is grit. You need to go find 100 targets that seem as though they would fit. Get 30 of those to LOI stage to buy one company. You thought this shit was easy, huh? Just because I'm always sipping on Americanos and hanging out. You thought this shit was smooth, huh? You thought shit was sweet. It ain't sweet. Now, I'll add to that. I'll say that's 30 qualified LOIs, but if you have hyper qualified LOIs, I would say 5 hyper qualified LOIs can lead to a transaction. Now, what is a hyper qualified LOI? I would like to describe that as you've literally implied the valuation and the structure and the terms to the seller, and they have still welcomed the offer. So you've had a meeting where you've literally said, hey, you make £1 million a year. I'm thinking 3.5 million, which is a 3.5x multiple. I'm thinking 2.5 million at close, which is a 2.5 closing multiple, and £1 million over 3 years, £1 million over 4 years. You know, that's what I'm thinking. And they say, all right, put it in writing. I'll have a review, I'll have a think, I'll talk to my partner, I'll talk to my advisors. That's hyper qualified. You've made them the offer, and now they've asked you to put it in writing. Hyper qualified. 5 of those, you get a company. Okay? So get to work with your lazy ass. Talk about, how many letters do I gotta send to buy a business? I know who's watching this show. I know you, man. I was you. I am you. I understand. Shit ain't free. You gotta earn it. I'm prepared for y'all these days, man. I'm out here taking notes.
What's the key mistakes to avoid?
Okay, thinking just because you send an LOI, you're gonna buy that business. People get lazy. They think that this deal flow debt equity is sort of, you do a little bit of deal flow, you do a little bit of debt, and then you do a little bit of equity. They don't understand, this is a lifestyle, okay? In between walking from the last location, freezing my nuts off to this location, I got a phone call from my boy, Liban, one of my war dogs. And he was like, hey, Yus, I'm gonna need you to jump on some seller calls for the HVAC group. And I was like, cool, I'll jump on a couple of them calls. I've got interns. They're gonna jump on most of them, but I'm gonna jump on those calls. I'm 8 years in, still doing seller calls. Okay, you don't get beyond this shit. Like you're not too big for your britches. You know what I'm trying to say? So I think people thinking that you do this thing once. I mean, I always ask people about activity. Whenever someone complains and says, hey, Yusufa, I had someone write me last week, for example. All of the IMs that I'm requesting, the brokers are saying that the IMs are rejected, the seller doesn't want to share it with me. And I said to him, okay, how many requests, bro? How many? I'm listening. It's always some flimsy ass number like 3 or 6 or 8. You really think you're gonna ask for 8 IMs, information memorandums, which is essentially just a presentation, a formal presentation of a business for sale. Ask for 8 and buy a company. Bro, this shit don't stop. How many times have you brushed your teeth the last year? Right? If you're 25, how many times have you brushed your teeth in your lifetime, the last 25 years? You don't know the shit don't stop. You still got your teeth, ain't you? So you do it preemptively. This shit never stops. Deal flow, debt equity, never stops. If you're not up for that, then this is not for you. Seriously. Like, this is not for everyone, okay? Like, we can make the show and it can be nice fun and games and entertainment and all that, but at the end of the day, are you actually going to do this? Are you gonna be one of the few that does what it takes, that does what's necessary to succeed? Because if you ain't willing to do that, then I can't help you. So the question is, what do you need to do? Deal flow, debt, equity, and don't be a little bitch. Now I'm gonna leave you with a little bonus tip. Okay, a little bonus something for you. A little bonus tip for you. Sometimes you'll come across a good business, you like the owners, they like you wanna do a deal, you make them a reasonable offer. For one reason or the other, they don't accept the offer. That's okay, it's not the end of the world. If you really like the company, what you can do is this. Normally, LOIs are called non-binding, meaning you are not bound to the suggested terms, meaning you can essentially walk away from those terms, just like they can walk away. Even having signed, if they signed the LOI, doesn't mean they owe you a company. You don't owe the money, they don't owe you the company. It's pending due diligence, it's pending legal review, it's pending the conclusive signing of the agreement. However, here's a bonus tip. If they're not satisfied with your offer, you can say to them, look, I'm willing to sign a non-binding, non-exclusive LOI. Because typically LOIs have an exclusivity period of, call it 3 to 6 months, meaning they cannot market the business to anyone else. You're the exclusive buyer. You have the exclusive buy rights for that period. But you can say, look, I'll sign a non-binding, non-exclusive LOI. Now, what that gives them as a seller is the opportunity to have a bona fide offer from a bona fide buyer, i.e. you. And they can take that offer and they can go and they can market their business for sale to other buyers, and they can say, we have received an offer. For example, we make £1 million in profits. Someone has offered us £3.5 million. We have that standing offer, and it's non-exclusive, it's non-binding. So you have to beat that offer. You give them an instrument of value that they can use to see whether they can unlock a better valuation. Now, only one of 2 things are gonna happen. Either 1, they find a better offer, they find another buyer. That's okay, you wish them luck. You're building goodwill. Or 2, they fail to buy, or rather fail to find a better buyer. They failed to find a better offer. Therefore, that means you were the best offer. You were the best game in town. And on a non-exclusive basis, you know, you're not like a needy boyfriend. You've given them a chance to go do better and they weren't able to. What do you think that does for you? That gives you a position of strength. Your ability to say, come, let's do this deal, man. I was always the one for you, sweetheart. You was always gonna be my girl. You know what I'm saying? I'll still marry you. That's strength. That's negotiating from a position of strength. That's a little bonus tip. You find a business that you love, you can't reach terms, send them a non-binding, non-exclusive LOI, and invite them to go and do better. And if they fail to do better, that's your girl. Happily ever after. Where else do you both get M&A advice and relationship advice? Subscribe. 0 to 1. Boom.